we're going to take a look at inverse functions and how the inverse differs from the normal type of function and how to evaluate them at certain numbers. So you can either look at an inverse function when you're looking at a set of points or at an actual function. Right now we're going to focus on points. Later on in the video we'll find the inverse of a function itself. So here we have the set of points that is g of x, and these points are -2, 2, -1, 4, and 5, -2. These are really easy to find the inverse of. All you have to do is swap the coordinates. So x becomes y and y becomes x. And that's it. That is g inverse right there. So now this question asks, what is g inverse of 2? So when x is 2 inside of g inverse, what is y? That's what that question's asking. So x is 2 inside g inverse in this point, which means that y is 5. So g inverse at -2 is 5. This is an important difference because if you look up in the normal function, g of -2 is 2. So that's where the inverse differs. Be careful, make sure that you switch your coordinates before you go ahead and solve for the inverse. Now we're going to find the inverse of this function. So this function is f of x equals x minus 13 over 11. So the first thing I like to do is set this equal to y. I mean, we all know that f of x is y, but it makes things a little bit easier to deal with. Now what you're going to do is solve the equation for x. So we're going to multiply both sides by 11. Whoops. And then I'm going to add 13 to both sides. And now this final step is really important. All you have to do is switch the variables. There you go. That's your inverse function. Switching the variables is the most important step. You can go ahead and do it in the beginning if you want. So if you wanted to rewrite this and say that x equals y minus 13 over 11 and then solve for y, you could do that also. However you're going to remember it, just make sure that eventually, at some point in your problem, those variables get swapped.